Okay. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the In Out Crowd. Even though we can kind of go out a little bit more than we've been able to, I'm certainly still in, as is Eleanor, and of course, as always, we are still very much out. So it's been a few weeks since we've had one of our fabulous rainbow-filled episodes, and mainly due to the fact that Computer Alex was almost breaking down with the amount of work we were all doing here at Team Shaper Caper / The In Out Crowd. So we've had a couple of weeks off to all get our holidays in check and to finally be able to go outside with certain people that we perhaps haven't seen for quite a while. So that is, of course, lovely. And we do hope that whoever is watching has been enjoying a little bit more of the outside freedom compared to where we were this time last year. It's certainly a massive step forward. Even though the weather hasn't always been exactly on our side, hopefully there's plenty of rainbow spreading going about, because that's exactly what we're here to do, despite it being rather drizzly outside in Scotland and perhaps where else you might be also. Speaking of drizzle, let's have a wee bit more of a chat on some other drizzle that's happening in the world of LGBTQ+, as we look at our weather. Girl.
It's green
And there's my dong. And these aren't for comic effect. It's actually semi-prescription glasses. So there we go. I'm feeling my Jackie Bird fantasy here. So first up this evening, we do have some lovely rainbow goodness that we are spreading, because we know that the rainbow goodness is always important. However, there are certain human rights bodies here in the UK that don't necessarily agree with the importance of showing how important the rainbow is. A human rights body has decided to leave Stonewall's diversity scheme. Britain's human rights watchdog has decided not to renew its membership of a diversity scheme run by the LGBTQ+ group Stonewall. This is in a report from bbc.co.uk, where it's describing the Equality and Human Rights Commission says it told Stonewall it would be leaving the Diversity Champions scheme in March. Members pay Stonewall a fee and allow it to vet their internal policies using things such as who can use their toilets and changing facilities and that kind of thing. But the EHRC says it did not constitute best value for money. I swiftly disagree. Nancy Kelly, Stonewall's chief executive, said the charity was proud of its work supporting organisations to create inclusive working environments, but added that it was up to individual employers how they meet their statutory requirements. Hundreds of private and public bodies are members of Stonewall's scheme. However, the scheme is not without controversy, and it has been found in an independent report commissioned by the University of Essex that Stonewall gave an incorrect and potentially illegal advice on transgender issues. Now, that of course is alleged. That's just what the BBC News report had reported. But it's very clear that there should possibly be more of these kind of diversity schemes ran by places like Stonewall and other charities and other organisations who can support non-LGBTQ+ focused organisations on how they can do a better job at supporting their employers and also their service users if it is necessary. And as always, it wouldn't be the Weather Girl without some drizzly showers. And I keep moving my screen, I'm so sorry. Without some drizzly showers. And unfortunately, these drizzly showers are due to a report that BBC again has done regarding trans men and non-binary people not receiving smear test updates. So this was a report done by Eleanor Laurie. Oh, another Eleanor in the reporting sphere there, Eleanor. And it was a report looking at different folks from the trans and non-binary community who may not necessarily identify as female or women, but they are having an exhausting smear test battle. So one such person that they interviewed was Laurie Hodiern, who was re-registered as male, and because of being re-registered as male was no longer contacted for a smear test. Now, it's interesting because many cis women dread being invited for their cervical smear test, and there's so many campaigns to say, go and get your smear test, nothing to be embarrassed about. However, Laurie and other men and non-binary folks in his position have found it exhausting to keep asking for appointments and trying to chase up the results. As the BBC report had mentioned, he's one of a number of transgender men who still have a cervix, but are no longer registered as female at their GP surgery. And because of this, they are missing out on potentially life-saving cervical smear tests because he's not automatically called up for screenings. Laurie has described it as coming up against a brick wall, saying he understands how the systems work and the language, but despite all of that, he still finds it exhausting. It's a healthcare inequality in the sense that you aren't able to get access to the screening programme in the same way. And it puts a lot of extra work onto the GPs who are already stretched. Now, over this last year, we've realised just how important our NHS is, and of course how important every single person working in the NHS is. So if you're trying to organise all of the other stuff that you're trying to do on your daily day-to-day job as a medical professional, imagine having to then also make time for people phoning up, making phone calls. Can I get my smear test scheduled? Can I get the results back? Simply because they're not on an automated register to hear back. Now, this is something that I personally feel quite strongly about, and I'm very, very passionate about it. And thankfully, there is other campaigns, such as this one here, saying PAPs are worth it. We both get PAPs, which shows transgender and non-binary folks who might be in heterosexual relationships, and they're showing that they both get pap smears. And it's just about normalising that kind of language, that it's not just women who get smears, and not all women get smears. Nevertheless, it's still an extremely important medical procedure. And a fellow NB, chatting to my other fellow NBs, if you haven't had your smear test, please go and organise one now. It doesn't take a long time, and even though it can be a dysphoric experience, it can be life-saving. So put up with it for 10 minutes and then go and get a wee bit of cake because you treat yourself. Finishing off on a good note there, we have got plenty of stars in the sky for our LGBTQ plus community. And here they are. So the top one is a very well-known YouTuber, Nikki Tutorials, who was the first ever transgender host of Eurovision. Now, I think, why have we not had a trans host of Eurovision, considering it is like the chapel of LGBTQ plus celebrations, or the Christmas rather, that would be celebrating some sort of queer chapel. And she was fantastic. I was watching it and did an excellent job. So well done, Nikki. And of course, on the bottom here is Demi Lovato, who over the weekend has came out as non-binary and officially changed their pronouns to they, them. We welcome them to the NB community, and anyone else who came out over the weekend, we love you and we're proud of you, and well done. Now, as well as all of these massive global stars of the LGBTQ plus community, we also have lots of national stars and local stars. And I was very, very lucky to chat to one over the last couple of weeks. Ruby Waters is an amazing musician, drag creator, drag performer, drag DJ, so many fabulous titles that I could give them. And they have been part of performance for Queer Theory, which is a cabaret based in Nice and Sleazy, which is a bar in Glasgow. And while they've not been doing live shows, they have been doing lots of live streams on Twitch and YouTube for the community over the pandemic. And I was so lucky, as I say, to chat to Ruby about their work with Queer Theory, but also their own personal work in music, as they're known as Pink Pound Sound. So we took a bit of a deep dive into this topic of drag music and drag cabaret, and we hope that you enjoy it as we look at our liaisons of the week. So next up tonight, we have got the fabulous Scottish legend, in my eyes for sure. Ruby Waters is joining us, and I'm feeling very immersed and hydrated in the waters. But for this evening, you've joined us as Andrew.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Yeah, and lovely to have you. So just kind of picking off then, in case anyone isn't sure, who is Ruby Waters and how did they come about to be part of your creativity and your life?
Yes, I'm sure that everyone already knows who I am, but for the few who've managed to avoid me, no, I'm kidding. No one knows who I am. I have been doing drag as Ruby Waters since about 2009, and I moved myself and my vast collection of wigs to Glasgow in 2016, and I have been hosting karaoke nights in Glasgow, running queer performance events, and collaborating with Queer Theory on and off ever since. Yeah, I also make music with my drag persona, which is called Pink Pound, and you can find that stuff if you look for Pink Pound Sound. That's all my own original music stuff.
Yes, and I'm seeing one of your wigs kind of pop out behind you there on screen. Is that one of your signature colours? Do you like to go for those kind of reds and oranges?
Yes. Ruby Waters, the name actually, Ruby because I'm always red, always redhead. And Waters was in reference to John Waters. But yeah, generally I'm always in a natural, very natural colour for me. I am a ginger. So all sorts of oranges, reds, and earthy fire tones is generally what I go for. And now a lot of pink as well, because I've chosen to call myself Pink Pound. So pinks and oranges, I guess, is my colour palette.
Gorgeous, your earthy fire tones, that could be your next album there. That's sort of title. So you mentioned there John Waters. Now this wasn't kind of in the pre-organised questions that I'd sent you, but of course a huge legend, not just in the LGBTQ plus community, but just in general. Did you find that influenced a lot of your work, and what sort of age did you start to craft that kind of creativity and music and drag and using influences from here, there and everywhere?
Yeah, I think John Waters is definitely a massive influence on I guess my art practice, which is just kind of everything. So music, performance, if I'm doing I also do a lot of illustration, although that's kind of on the back burner for me now at the moment. But yeah, I got into music and performance stuff a bit later than some people perhaps, but I was doing a lot of visual art and illustration, and I'd studied that at university. And while I was there, I met a bunch of like young London punks, because I studied not far from London. A lot of people were just were either commuting in from the city, or they moved down because it was really close. And quite a few of them were musicians doing just kind of punky. At the time, it was like an anti-folk scene. So the vibe was pick up whatever instrument and just kind of have a go. And yeah, I was very inspired by that, and I started making music shortly after. So I've been doing that since my mid-20s and incorporated drag into it a little bit here and there, but only since lockdown, really. Since the start of the pandemic, I've been sort of focusing more on doing that as a musical endeavor. Previous to that, I was playing in bands, and I still am, play drums and bass guitar and stuff and sing. Yeah, am I losing the question? I'm going off.
No, not at all. Yeah, I think it's
John Waters.
Yeah, and just like how that influenced you as well, if it did influence kind of majorly in any part of your creative, because I think that's what I've learned from speaking to other drag artists and music artists and even activists that we've interviewed in the In Out crowd. It all kind of starts to meld together. Eventually, if you're a creative person, whether it be music, drag, illustration, it's just you always get that burning desire of, right, okay, what else can I make? What else can I do? And that's certainly the vibe that I kind of get with John Waters. Is it seems that a lot of what he does is just great, and for maybe not all ages, but I'm for Glasgow, so I was definitely watching John Waters maybe before I should have. So it can really like transcend across sort of demographics, and yeah, just if you found that you had influences from him in your drag and your music and your illustration.
Yeah, totally. I think I get really, really inspired across the board with people that are just willing to sort of take center stage and command attention, especially people that it would otherwise, through society or cultural reasons, wouldn't normally get that opportunity or that be encouraged to do so. People that have that kind of really punk attitude of, why shouldn't I be able to create culture? Why shouldn't I be able to do this? And John Waters and Divine and all of his other collaborators had certainly that mentality when they were making films. It's exactly the same mentality that I hope that I take forward with music and performance, is just the sort of have a go, and that kind of, that confidence, that defiance of being like that visibly queer person, being able to take up space, which a lot of people, I think, I just find it really inspiring when someone who is otherwise potentially marginalized by society commands space and takes up space and creates culture. John Waters definitely did that.
Totally, and I can think of no other fantastic people to carry on the legacy than drag artists and musicians, and as you say, taking up space every time you do a show, maybe not right now in front of a live audience, but you are in turn sort of being that John Waters character for the people in the audience that maybe need that inspiration, and then it kind of continues on. And I think that's something that is just really beautiful about, small live entertainment, big live entertainment of any sort. You're kind of listening to this, you're administering inspiration whenever you do it,
I hope so. That's why it's always important to sort of not get discouraged with doing small shows, like you said, or like being a local queen, or like performing in small bars, and you never know the impact you're going to have on people's lives just being visible and just being there, just being present, commanding a stage. It's vitally important to a lot of people. I looked up to anyone that was like in that position when I was younger. So if it is possible that I can in any way inhabit that space for someone else, then that's amazing. I'd be over the moon.
Totally. Well, I mean, just kind of looking at your Instagram and such, I will definitely be making myself across to a Ruby Waters show as soon as humanly possible, because you really see, even in photos, you really see that kind of, I don't want to kind of, overuse the term like community, and it's maybe a bit cliche at the moment, but when you're in a sort of drag audience, even though you maybe don't know everyone there, but you really just feel that kind of, I don't know what the word is, but you feel kind of at home. And it used to be the highlight of my week, going to the bars in Glasgow. I've been to Queer Theory a few times. Mother Tucker was another one. You really do just kind of let people just get away for a few hours. It's
I think also the Glasgow scene in that respect is really welcoming. Community means different things to different people, and I think it's a good word. Personally, it's how I would describe like the queer scenes that circles I run in. I think it kind of portrays a sense of it being a welcoming space, that we're in it mutually aiding each other, that it's not you're here as a spectator, that everyone can get involved. Community has that kind of connotation, doesn't it? Like, just because you're on stage this week doesn't mean that the person watching you won't be on stage next week. Like, and you'll be there supporting them.
Totally. I don't even think about it that way. Yeah, absolutely. You never know who's going to be kind of going, yeah, I want to do what Ruby Waters is doing. I'm going to go up there and follow in their footsteps. And one of those spaces where, again, sort of pre-lockdown, you would work with in collaborations. You mentioned Queer Theory, and that was actually how I got in touch with you, was going through Queer Theory, yeah, seeing if anyone wanted to come on and chat to wee speckled old me. So what was your work with Queer Theory like, and, you know, how did that come about?
When I first moved to Glasgow, it was just at the start of 2016, I think. And Queer Theory, I just started immediately hosting a karaoke night in the Flying Duck called Bum Notes. So when I started that, I was obviously super invested in what else was happening, and I was putting up flyers everywhere and posters and posting online, and I was very much sort of trying to get involved in what was going on. And around about the exact same time, this new cabaret night started at Sleazy's in Glasgow called Queer Theory. I was very interested in what was happening there. I kept an eye on it. I was tending bar, so I didn't always make it down to the first few. But I performed there for the first time in December 2016. So somehow there had been some sort of cross communication, and they were aware of what I was doing. And I was really interested in what they were doing, because it's for people that don't know, a very subversive and alternative cabaret night, showcasing LGBTQ plus talent, but it's a little bit different perhaps than what you might think of as a cabaret night, in that it's just a bit more raucous, experimental, I guess. The choice of acts, the curation of acts is sometimes a bit more out there than what you might expect, but it's great. It's a really fun, welcoming, and that word again, that kind of community vibe that you get from Queer Theory. So I performed there in 2016, the end of 2016, and then Bum Notes and Queer Theory did like a collaboration event at the Flying Duck. I performed there again 2017, a couple times maybe. I hosted, and just the other week I hosted and performed at their Transcendence live stream from the new queer bar in Glasgow called Bonjour, which is yet to open, but keep your eyes peeled. I'm sure that will be an amazing space when it does open its doors finally. But yeah, the live stream was just the other week. So I've done a bunch of stuff with them. I'm not involved in the organisation, so don't hit me up if you want to perform there. I'm not booking for Queer Theory. I'm just a big fan who happens to have hosted a few times.
Absolutely, yeah. I would encourage anyone to join the Twitch live streams of Queer Theory, and just keep an eye out for that new space. Sounds amazing when it's going to open up. I can't wait. And talking of raucous, we're going to just close up the interview with a super quick fire game, which we call This or That. And you've probably done something similar to it before. Anybody watching, feel free to join in. I'm basically going to give you two options between this or that, and then you decide which one. So it could be, for instance, action or comedy, and then just look, the first thing that comes into your head, comedy. And it can be quite interesting because the answers might not always be what you think they're going to be. So Andrew/Ruby, are you ready for this or that?
Dun dun dun! Yes. Okay.
Wait, I don't have my sound effects board with me tonight, so thank you for that. Right.
Pleasure.
We are going for question 1, meat lovers or veggie pizza?
Veggie pizza.
Same. Cosmopolitan or porn star martini?
Cosmopolitan.
Very nice. Nintendo Switch or PS5?
Switch.
Same. Just because you kind of get PS5s for love their money. Drag Race or Dragula?
Dragula.
Same. Classic pageant queenery or punk rock bitches?
Punk rock bitches.
Yes. Love both, but yes. Choose one. Live entertainment or filmed entertainment?
Live entertainment.
Old Queer Eye or New Queer Eye?
New Queer Eye? Because I haven't seen the old one, so I don't know.
I used to watch the old one with my dad. It's great. It reminds me quite a lot of Carson Kressley, but I don't know if he would really take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Do you look to the past or look to the future?
To the past.
Interesting.
Yeah, you've got to know your past if you're going to go into the future, I think.
Very nice. Now this one's a little bit, reach across the aisle to anti-LGBTQ plus people, or ignore them and live our best lives.
Reach across the aisle to LGBT or ignore them.
Oh, sorry, no. Reach across the aisle to anti-LGBTQ plus people. Or, sorry, that was, I speak very quickly when I'm under time pressure.
Gotcha. I guess the best lives option just sounds great. If I give it some more thought, maybe that would be something else. But if it's an instant gratification thing, I'm going to grab best life.
That's the one, yes. Instant gratification, always. And finally, read the comments or don't read the comments.
Don't read.
It's not worth it, is
Although,
it?
I mean, this is me presenting my advice, but I mean, I definitely read the comments, but don't. You should.
Do as we say, not as we do.
Exactly.
That's it. Well, I mean, there was no right or wrong answers, but I did actually agree with everything that you went for there. So I think that me and you might be a little bit kind of soul sisters there.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'll see you on Switch online then. We can
Absolutely.
play some Mario Kart or something.
Oh, definitely, yes. Or when you have like a couple of Yakults and then you can't steer properly, it's called Cario Marts. Even better, you end up your blue shell. Oh, it's great. Well, thank you so much, Ruby/Andrew, for your time. Would you like to quickly just promote any social medias that you've got, websites, anything that you want people to see where they can follow you?
Sure thing. So if you want to follow Queer Theory, it's Queer Theory GLA on their social medias, Queer Theory GLA. And if you'd like to hear my music and follow me, I am at Pink Pound Sound on, I think, all the social media. Is that for ease of use.
Fabulous. Thank you so much again. And yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing you live very soon.
Yes, hopefully. I'll tour soon, I hope.
Thank you so much to Andrew/Ruby Waters for their interview there and also for indulging me in my wee game. Now, having said all of that, we are going to just finish off tonight with our fabulous Eleanor for another one of your lovely hot topics. So I will just get you up and ready there, Eleanor, and take it away.
Thanks, Alex. It is great to be getting back to Hot Topic, and we've got some great info for you all this week. As promised in our last Hot Topic, we're going to continue our travels to explore various countries' laws and lives for LGBTQ plus people living there. If you didn't catch last episode, where we covered the Netherlands and Germany, it's still available to watch on Shaper Caper's YouTube and Facebook. This Hot Topic, we're looking at Poland. It's hard to know where to start with this country, but if you're a long-time fan of the In Out Crowd, you'll know we previously chatted to Remy and Kasia in episode 1, who spoke about their experiences as LGBTQ plus people in Poland. To call on what they said, they pointed out that a lot had changed leading up to the July 2020 when our interview took place. Briefly, the timeline includes March 2019, where the first of more than 100 towns signed a resolution condemning so-called LGBT ideology and naming their town an LGBT-free zone. In May 2019, activists were arrested for putting up posters of the Virgin Mary with a rainbow halo in the town of Plock. They were later charged with offending religious feelings, one of many rounds of arrests of activists to come. In July 2019, the first Pride March in the town of Białystok is attacked by anti-LGBT plus extremists, who threw smoke bombs, burned flags, and beat up several people. Also, in September 2019, police were able to prevent an attempted bomb attack at the Lublin Pride March. And just before our interview in July 2020, Poland's President Andrzej Duda is narrowly re-elected to a second 5-year term after comparing LGBT plus ideology to communism and pledging to ban same-sex adoption and LGBT plus lessons in schools during the campaign. Currently, nearly a third of the country is an LGBT-free zone, declaring that they are completely unwelcoming of our community. Same-sex marriage is illegal. Same-sex adoption is not possible, and anti-gay attacks are not considered hate crime by law. Here at the In Out crowd, we know how important the arts are, so I came across some ways that the arts are fighting back in Poland. With the country's drive in ultra-right-wing political thinking, LGBTQ+ art is facing more and more censoring. The Power of Secrets is described as possibly the last LGBTQ celebrating exhibition in a public cultural institution. The exhibition celebrates Karol Radziszewski, a queer cultural exploring interdisciplinary artist employing an archive-based methodology. His 2005 both artistic and gay coming out exhibition, Fags, is considered the first openly homosexual exhibition in Poland, while his DIK Fagazine is the first arts publication dedicated to the exploration of contemporary homosexuality. In the murals and paintings in The Power of Secrets, there are repaintings of his childhood drawings, in which as a 9-year-old he portrayed himself as a princess or a sexy fairy. Amazingly, and not in a good way, the new director of the gallery chose to book a neo-Nazi Hungarian band after the event. However, thankfully it was cancelled after public outcry, not without him promising to minimise any future left-wing arts. In addition to visual artists, there are musicians, poets, DJs, and other media performers fighting back against the right-wing rhetoric. For example, queer electronic music collective Aramix raised more than £6,000, which is equivalent to an average 6 months' salary in Poland from the sales of a compilation and a party at a major club in Warsaw for victims of the Pride March attack in July 2019. Now, there are hours worth of information about Poland's current situation and past and artists, but unfortunately that's all we have time for now. So join us on the next Hot Topic segment in June, where we will continue our travels. But for now, back to you, Alex.
Thank you so much, Eleanor. That was, really illuminating. And of course, big thank you to past guests, Remy and Kaja, who came on to talk about their first-hand experience. I have popped a little video for everyone who wants to see a little bit more about what Eleanor was discussing. It's a really fantastic YouTube video, which we think that you will enjoy. But having said all of that, we have said enough for this evening, and we would like to just quickly thank all of our viewers for this evening. We would love to thank Ruby Waters /Queer Theory for liaising with little old me and coming on, having a chat. Thank you, Eleanor, for that fantastic presentation. And of course, thank you to the Cora Foundation, who made this episode of the In Out Crowd possible and have continued to support us throughout this whole year. But for now, it's looking like the weather is a bit nicer outside, so we will leave you there.